Hello, I am showing you how to make a custom region for RainWorld in 1.9, mainly about the folder structure and how it differs from 1.5. I will be using the Pipeline Caverns mod. Um, I will be porting it to demonstrate the folder structure, but hopefully this will also be useful to people who are new to making custom regions. So to start off, I just want to take a minute to look over the vanilla folder structure. So right here you've got the RainWorld root folder. It's got the main exe. You've got BepInEx, that's the mod loader. The main thing, everything's in RainWorld data. And from here you've got like the code stuff and managed. And then streaming assets, this is where any content modder cares about. So if you compare this to, here I've got my RainWorld 1.5 install. If we take a look at this structure, you've got, let's see, assets. Most of these are empty. Assets, futile, resources. And now we're here. We have palettes, projections, and that's all under all of that. If you look in here, we already have that. We've got decals, illustrations, palettes, projections, scenes, shaders. All of this stuff is just in the streaming assets folder. And in the world, previously you have to go to world, and let's see, you've got gates, you've got regions, and then you've got the region and then the rooms folder. But the streaming assets world folder, everything is just one directory in. You've got CC, CC rooms, gates are in here as well. Gates, gate shelters. This is actually the wrong location. It's supposed to be gates, gate shelters in here, but that's okay. You don't need to worry about that. Oh, and I should mention, if you haven't made RainWorld mods before, regions are just a collection of rooms. So in the CC folder, for example, CC means chimney canopy. We've got all these files which have details about how all of the rooms should connect together. Like this says how the rooms should connect together. The map is for where the room positions are. Properties is just general region properties, etc. And then the rooms folder contains the actual room files, including the room geometry, the room visuals, and the room settings, like the DevTools objects and stuff. So basically, from 1.5, the folder structure has been flattened. Everything is in a slightly different place. You should be able to find it pretty easily. Okay, now let's talk about mod structure. I'll be looking at the More Slugcats mod. This folder, so yeah, this folder right here, if you notice, it's got all of the same ones as streaming assets. So yeah, the folder structure here is just a mirror of streaming assets. If you put something in here, if you put something in like the decals folder, then the game treats it as if it's in this decals folder. Yeah. There's this modify directory that's a bit different, but we're not going to worry about that quite yet. But let's get into actually making a mod. So this is Pipeline Caverns. I'm going to make a new folder in the mods folder called Pipeline Caverns. By the way, this mods directory, it's not where workshop mods go. Workshop mods are in workshop content. Here are all the workshop mods. Let's see, what is this one? Atmo. Yeah, this is where workshop installs go, but if you're working on a mod, you should put it in the mods folder. So yeah, got Pipeline Caverns. I need this modinfo.json file. This is what basically tells the game that this folder is a mod. In here, we need to put for ID pipeline caverns. Actually, we should do solar.pipeline caverns, sure. Name pipeline caverns. Version. So, a lot of these fields aren't really necessary. The ID and the name one, I think, are. And I'm actually going to go to the Downpour reference wiki. I will link this in the description. This is really useful. If you're ever not sure about something, you should reference this wiki. And let's look at the mod directories. So this talks about the modinfo.json here. It includes a bunch of options. You can put ID, the version, you can put the target game version, authors, description, YouTube trailer. Yeah, all this stuff. This shows the format for most of it. Go read this. But for now, no requirements. Actually, it probably requires region kit. So, for requirements, you've got to find the mod. Let's see which one of these is region kit. I think it's one of the older ones I have installed. Or it's really annoying that these folders are just like, there we go. You need this ID. This ID is the requirements. And then put this as the name. Authors, it's solar. And we don't really need anything else. We don't need all of this stuff too, but yeah, it's fine. I'm going to talk about this checksum override version later because it's very important for making working on mods not extremely annoying. Okay. Now, we've got that in place. Let's start getting the essential region files over. So, let's see. We want to create the most important thing, actually. The most important thing we need, there's a file in world right here, regions. This is a list of all the regions in the game. If we don't add to this list, the region will not show up. So, and since this is a vanilla file, we can go, let's see, world, and then new text document regions. And then we just put this in here. However, this will replace the entire vanilla file if we do this, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to have to use a modification file. I'm going to talk about these more later. Modification files go in the modify directory. You can read up about them on the wiki right here, modification files. These are like, yeah, if you can use these, you should, because they're essential for compatibility. So the modify folder, let's look at the MSC modify folder for reference. If you notice, it mirrors the same folder structure as streaming assets again. Except it doesn't have everything because you don't need to modify everything. But yeah, it's the same folder structure, just even one layer deeper. We need, world and regions. Check out this is how MSC adds regions to the vanilla region file. I'm going to go more in depth with modification files later. For now, we're just going to make one because it's a necessary first step. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on what I'm doing here. This is just saying add a line onto the end of the existing region file. That's all it's really doing. And let's see. There's one more thing we need for it to load. If we load up the game now, it's just going to crash and say, it's going to say the world file isn't found. So I'm going to go to the world folder. We don't want that. New folder, PC. I should mention case sensitivity, or there is no. The folders are completely case insensitive. You don't need to worry about capitalization or anything. I'm going to create a new world PC. Rooms, end rooms. That's good enough. Now let's launch the game, see what happens. I'll probably have to enable the mod in the remix menu, but it should now appear in the warp menu, even though there are no files or no rooms in the region. Alright, let's check out, see if the mod appears in the remix menu. Let's see, Pipeline Caverns, there it is. So, yeah, in order to get it to appear in the mod, or the remix menu, all you need is this mod info file. Even if there's nothing else in the mod, that's what you need. But in order to get the actual region to appear, I should have clicked this before talking. In order to get the region to appear, you need to add it to the regions.txt, and also you need to create the world file. Alright, everything's loaded. We're starting an oil station for fun. I'm just starting up this game to see if the mod will appear in the warp menu. Although I think warp refreshes. Oh, there it is. We've got PC, it's a region with no rooms, no screens. Cool. Now let's get the region's files over. So I'm gonna go to the 1.5 mod pack. Let's see, I need this. I'm just gonna do the region for now. We will worry about the connections later. Alright, now this needs to be its own folder. Oop, I don't need that anymore. And then, so this world file format, okay, there's not much. The room section is completely unchanged. Let's pull up an MSC world file for reference. Where does CC have? Oh, right. I'm trying to think of a less spoilery one. Let's look at VS. Okay, so there's this new conditional links section. This is for Slugcat specific room connections. But then we've got the rooms file. If you look, or the rooms section, it's exactly the same. All of the yeah, everything's the same. When we get to the creature section, however, we start to see some differences. Namely, there's this syntax. Instead of in vanilla, you'd see, or in 1.5, you'd see something like this, and this means survivor, monk, and these spawns are exclusive to these two. But now you list them out by name. Survivor's name is white, monk's name is yellow, hunter's name is red, and actually you can see the other ones here. There's artificer, there's spear for spearmaster, rivulet is called rivulet, gourmand here, and then there's this other one called inv. I'm not going to tell you what inv is. It's a secret. So that is the main difference in world file formatting, is conditional links and spawn name changes. And you can see all of this on the Downpour reference under file format. Go to world. This details conditional links better than I know, to be honest. And it mentions spawn changes. Oh, and this X prefix, it's important. If you are coming from CRS and you've used something like this before, that is not a feature that exists. You cannot do conditional links based on what other regions exist. Although, perhaps we can add that feature back in soon. But for Pipeline Caverns, I do not need to worry about anything. Everything is exactly like this. No changes necessary. Properties has a bunch of new options. If you check the file formats on the Downpour reference for more details. If you ever used something like, if you use CRS's custom config, you've got these settings. These mostly are now in the properties. Like you can change rot color, the color of DLLs and protos and kelps and albino and all this stuff. I think there are a few more options that aren't listed on here, though they might be MSC exclusive stuff. So the biggest change out of all of these files is the map file. So let's take a look at, that's not what I wanted. PC map file. If you notice down at the bottom, you've got the connections. This is listing. So at the start it says this is a connection line. Don't try to interpret it as a room. It's got the connection. It's got the room, the two rooms it's connecting between, and then the two coordinates. This is the coordinate for the first room. This is the coordinate for the second room that the two ends of the connections go to. And then here are the directions that the connections should be facing. And if we look at an MSC map file, you can see this is exactly the same. So you don't need to worry about that. However, this top part, if you notice, it's different. Oops, sorry, I had to pause the recording for a second there, but let's see, where was I? Right, the format of these room lines is the room name, canon coordinate, dev coordinate, subregion in 1.5. Wait, no, this is layer and this is subregion. In 1.5, the subregions are stored by index, but in 1.9, you've got the room name, you've got canon coordinate, dev coordinate, layer, and then the subregion name, which is stored as what the subregion is called. And then you've got these two values. These are optional. This is the dimensions of the room. It's used for something that doesn't actually work. Yeah, so the biggest change is that these commas were separating the data points, whereas now they're separated by that. So you can manually go through and do this, but that's going to take forever. You can also do a find comma replace with that, and then that's great, but then you've also done that with the connections, which should still use the commas. So reformatting these is kind of a pain. Also, 0 means none, so you have to remove all these zeros, and then the ones, pipeline, cab. It's a pain. So instead of manually doing that all, I've created this map format converter. You run this and let's see. No, I want to go here. This one? Yeah. Loads it, and look, it's already in the correct format. It pulled up the subregions, got the subregions right, and the connections are unchanged. So now, save that file, and now this map is correctly formatted. I will include a link to the map format converter in the description. And with that, I think everything is in the right place to load the region. Just changing the map and also changing the spawns to rewrite index slugcats to the slugcat names. That's all that's... I think I'm missing the gates as well. You need all the rooms in place in order for it to load, so gotta get all of those in. Oh, missed the gates. Electric gates. Okay, we can talk about that. Okay, there's where all the gate rooms go. Now for electric gates and locks, locks is not optional. You need to include it or else really weird jank happens. So, and since the locks file is vanilla, we need to use a modification file for it. There's some slight change to the formatting of the locks. I believe this says, yep, locks, yeah, swap symbol, E gates as well. That's for electric gates. So since these files, this is going to be, yeah, we'll rename it later. Since those files are in vanilla, we're going to use modify files. Once again, I'm not going to elaborate on this too much. I will later. This needs to be egates, add. Just adding this. Oh, this value is not used anymore. Let's see. We just have that one, and then what's the other room? What's the other gate name called? PCSU. And those are the correct directions. And we need to add these lines. Alright, now everything should be in place to load the game. Or load the region, that is. Alright, let's check it out. See what happens. There's like a 50% chance this doesn't work. Heyo, all the rooms are there. Let's take a peek at the gate. And is it stuck? Oh, hey, it worked. And the pallet's missing. This is not normally what it looks like. Let's see, spawn tube worm. This is not normally what it looks like, but that's because the pallet is missing. This is the default palette now. No more bright red and white. Alright, but that's cool. The region's working. This is working as well, although if you notice the battery down here is a little bit goofy. You can't change the default normally. ONH adds this elect gate battery pose so you can position it correctly. I'm just going to save that. Hopefully CRS has a better implementation, but yep, the locks are there. Locks are working. Ooh, and this palette's here because it's included in ONH. Oh, it's such a good palette. Alright, well, okay, the region is working. Now let's get the assets for the region. This is probably the easiest part. because all the asset folders just go in here. For the most part, they're not even changed. I'm already having trouble managing these folders. So, let's see, futile resources. All of this goes in here. Wow, incredible. Let's see, palette, music. Oh, I should enable... Wait, how is this music already playing? Can you hear this, by the way? Okay, I think you can hear it now. Yeah, the music's already playing. I guess it was just constantly requesting the song and didn't stop requesting it till the file existed. But alright, that should be all of the assets in the right place. Now, I think... Let's warp back to, yep, palette's right now. And so just like that, the region is working. Pretty much. There are a couple more things. Let's see if the threat thing works already. I don't know if the 2 blue lizard spawns in the region are going to activate the threat. In fact, I don't even know if solar made the threat thing work. Looks like it does. See, I should just spawn in a creature. Yeah. Yep. Threat theme works. Threat theme working is not a vanilla feature. ONH adds this in code. Hopefully CRS will have it. But normally it will not be able to load these files. And would only be able to use vanilla threat layers. Cool, and then let's check if the map's working. Looks like the map's offset. I have a feeling that was the case in 1.5 as well. Probably, yeah. Probably didn't render it right. Alright, well, I think that's... there's one more asset thing. Let's see if we go here. Weird, it doesn't show up there. Oh, probably because it's not... that's kind of a problem, actually. Unknown region, right. That's another thing that needs to be included. Inside the regions folder. This is the wrong version of the game. Inside the regions folder, you need displayName. And this needs to have the displayName for the region. There we go. Okay, so in order for the region, I guess, to appear in this list, it needs to be included in the code in a list of like valid regions for the particular slugcat, which I'm not going to do right now. I guess you'll have to deal with it. I wonder if we can get the landscape working anyways. Landscapes are not supported by default. ONH stuff adds support for them. The format's a little bit different. Let me see if I can pull that up. Granola landscape FN. So you've got a text file, and then it lists the names of the PNGs, and then here is the depth. Optionally, you can add a shader. I don't know if bloom is a valid shader. I know what is it? Outer glow. There are a handful of shaders that are supported by landscapes, and I might make a mod that allows any shader to be used. But for now, I'm just gonna copy this by doing, what am I doing? See, I'm not gonna touch the blur stuff. That's optional. So depths. All right, depths. Okay. This is the last one. So layer 3. Put that at depth of like 5. 2, depth of 3. You have to list them in order from furthest back to furthest forward, because that's the draw order. Actually, that one can be like 1. Sure. I wonder... Nope, okay, it doesn't work. I wish there was some way to show that the region art works without, writing code to the game, but, guess we'll leave it at that. Wait for, support for that and for passages and stuff for, CRS will do that. Alright, well, the region works. Now we need to get the vanilla connections. So now here's where I'm really going to go in depth with the modify folder. Because this is where vanilla connections are going to happen. So CRS partially did this. You only had to list the new rooms. I'll start with Sky Islands because I know how that works. Let's see, how do I do this? This part might require some creativity for compatibility if you connect to, say, the same room as MSC. But in the world folder, I'm going to make a new folder SI. Alright, so let me explain to you how how file loading works with 1.9. When it first, anywhere in the code, when it starts to look for a file, it first looks in this merged mods folder. And if you notice, there are a bunch of files in merged mods. I'll explain how they get there in a bit. If it can't find anything in there, then it loops through every single mod directory that exists. If it finds the file, then it stops looking, but if it doesn't find it, it will continue looking through them in load order. And if it doesn't find any, then it looks for it in the vanilla directory. So, merged mods has priority over everything else, and it's generated by combining together the stuff that's included in this modify folder. So if I go to modify world CC, you'll notice, actually this one's kind of complicated. That's also kind of, modify files get really complicated because you can do a bunch of different operations. I'm going to pull up the Downpour reference because, yeah. Why is this? Right. Modification files. So, I recommend reading through this because it talks about modification files much better. I'm not going to go over exactly how the syntax works because that would take too long and you should just read the wiki. If we look at world SB, I want to show... I want to show some world merging in action. If you notice, here are rooms that are added by ONH. And you notice they like connect to, let's see, FN1. FN1 connects to SBFO3. Where is SBFO3? Ayo, look, it's got both the this is a new MSC room. This is a new ONH room. If we check out the ONH modify file for SB, you can notice I'm searching for the line that has the MSC file. If it's found, then I replace it with one that has both of them. I'm also searching for the vanilla file. If it finds it, then it replaces it with this same file, except with, or this same line with the MSC room disconnected. And that's the current approach for compatibility, I think. If it doesn't find the line, then it won't do the subsequent replace action. And then these merge brackets work. Anything inside of it works like CRS merging. So anything that doesn't require stuff like... You want to throw in as much as you can into these merge brackets. For Pipeline Caverns SI, that's this one. No. Oh, I must not have it. That's okay. But yeah, when the game starts, or when you reload mods, if you notice it spent forever loading, I might cut that stuff out, or I might speed it up. That is everything being merged together into the merged mods folder. And since that takes forever and you're not always going to be changing modification files, if you change this checksum override version to true, it will ignore any changes of the file. It won't redo merging, which means you don't have to wait forever to load. But also it means if you change any modification files, the changes won't happen until you set this to false. So I'm leaving this false for now. That's not even the right one. That's this one. But anyways. Okay, let's go here. I'm going to copy over the world file. Now, let's see. This is the vanilla room that it connects to. These are the new ones. I'm going to isolate this out. And I'm going to slap everything else in a fancy merge operation. Perfect. And then, let's see, formatting. I think we need to pull up the more slugcats modify file for Sky Islands, because it connects to SICO2. There we go. It connects Saint Intro. Spoilers, by the way. We need to put Saint Intro here. And conveniently, SIPCO4 happens to have a secret disconnected entrance right here. So I can just slap that in. Actually, though, yeah. I'm going to do a find line start. And then replace. Find line start means I can match the start of the line without having to worry about the contents. I believe this connection, if the other room doesn't exist, it just won't happen. So I think this modification file should work. Properties, okay. Map. Why is this empty? That's okay. Can copy over these rooms. Nothing should go in the modify file that isn't a modification file. So all these rooms, even though they're connecting, even though they're functionally modifying a region, they should not connect, or they should not go in the modify directory, because they're completely new rooms. So I'm going to make a new SI rooms folder. No, this all needs to go up here. Alright. Yeah, even if you're modifying a vanilla room, you don't want to put it in the modify folder, because unless you're trying to like match a specific string in the geometry array and replace it, you're just going to want to replace the entire room. So rooms pretty much never go in the modify directory. Oh, one thing to be very careful of, do not have any files open in the merged mods directory when reloading, because it will cause a shared access violation and the game will disable all your mods. So, yeah, just be careful of that. Okay, the game started. I really first want to check in the merged mods folder. I'm going to look at the world file, see what it's done. There are no conditional links, really. Alright, well, we can see if we look through here. We've got gate, PC, SI. We've got all of these rooms. We've got CO4 connecting to Saint Intro. And what is it, CO2? Yeah, there we go. So yep, everything there is working fine. You might have to mess around with priority in order to get, like, it might have to be prioritized above or below MSC in order to merge correctly. Although I think the latest update changed MSC to have like lowest priority no matter what. I'm not totally sure about that though. Time to warp to SI and make sure everything works. Ayo. Did I secretly not include that extra entrance? Could have sworn I did. Let's check exception log. Exception log is normally exceptionally useless. Right, okay. So, I thought I included that. I might try to add it in real quick. I don't want to be taking time up in this tutorial to do room editing. Yeah, I'll just DevTools across it all. Wait, the entrance is here. Why did it say it wasn't? See, this is PC04. 3 entrances. Oh, that's right. Saint Intro still connects to SI CO2. So, go to Pipeline Caverns, modify. We want to, no. Actually, I'll do, find line start, Saint Intro, and replace with PC02 row 4. Alright, and that requires reloading, so fun time. I need to close this. Can't have merged mods open. I think the directory is fine, but I'm not gonna risk it. Perfect. Alright, and that's how you connect to vanilla while also doing an MSC dependency connection. Now let's see, what else is there to talk about, really? Everything works. Everything's functional. You might have to mess around with... There are some MSC exclusive things that you can mess around with. If we go to... like the entire conditional link system, or if you notice you've got like display name Saint, you can change the name for specific slug cats, or change the map or the properties, and also yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do with more slug cats type stuff, but for now I think this is a good place to leave it, because we've got the region working. I haven't ported the SU connection, but I think that's going to require... Actually, Solar might have already done it. I think one room needs to be modified to have both connections. I'm just going to port it anyways. Alright, let's see. Let me check. Should be 436, right? 1, 2, 3 only. Normally it does 1, so that's correct actually. I can do this. Okay, modify world SU. Don't need any of that. You know, this line can really just be added instead of merged. Although, merge is safer. No, it can't be added because then it'll be added not inside the rooms section. So that's why you do merge. Rooms, you have to include rooms and end rooms. And merged has no space, while end rooms does. No, that's the one we need. More slug cats connects here. So modify world SU. I'm just gonna find the room line. CO4 SU cave 01. Place, I think this one technically comes first, and then cave 1. Yeah, that should be fine. And that requires restarting. I'm gonna check to make sure the modify or the merged mods did that right. Well, it hasn't crashed yet. And okay. Solar did not include the connection that's over here. Then why did it have 3? Okay, that's okay. So normally at this point, to make it compatible, I would add the pipe right here. It's because I forgot to include the rooms. I didn't put the room in. That's why it doesn't work. Alright, and for only stuff in the modify directory requires reloading. So I should have, whatever. That's okay. Really inefficient way of doing that. I do have to reload the game, otherwise it'll think the room is broken. Okay, OBS crashed, so I need to re-record this ending sequence. I figured out the issue with the room in order for it. There's a little quirk about merged mods and priority that I forgot to mention, and, well, I forgot about entirely. MSC technically has infinite priority. However, the game gets around this by if you have a file that has the same name as an MSC file, it will dump it into merged mods. So right here I have CO4 because I reloaded the game. And that is not in the modification directory. It's just, I'm looking in the wrong spot. It's not in the modification directory like it would normally have to be in order to show up. It's just right here. However, since MSC has the same file, in order to prioritize it, the game copies this file into merged mods. Anyways, I think that's about where I end for the main tutorial. This connection doesn't work because I guess Solar didn't actually put the new connection here, but that's a very simple level editing change. Now, I'm going to do a quick recap because I know this was very long-winded and very all over the place. So, to recap, everything goes in streaming assets now, and all of the folder structure has been flattened. So, like, decals go in streaming assets, decals, palettes go in streaming assets, palettes, and this is instead of having to be in, like, rain world assets, futile resources, and then palettes. Like, everything's just right here. Let's see, inside the world folder, everything's been flattened too. You have rooms, you have the actual region files, you've got gate shelters. This is not the right spot for gate shelters, but you don't need to worry about that. Gates go in here. There's a new file, egates, it's important. Locks is also important. And so is regions, and so is displayName. All of these new files, well, some of them aren't new, but you need to worry about them more than you did before with CRS. So, in your mods folder, you have the exact same folder structure as streaming assets, and the game will treat it as if these are the same. So, your mod name and then decals, it treats these as if they were in streaming assets decals, etc. There's not mod support for certain things automatically, like procedural music doesn't work by default. ONH stuff adds support for that, so that's why I'm able to get it working right now. Same goes for custom illustrations, and same goes for getting it to appear in the Safari menu or in the Wanderer progression requirements, or in the region screen. So, in the world file, in a practical sense, in the world file, you need to put all the rooms in the same locations. World file, it goes in its own folder. Don't forget the display name. Don't forget the world file. The world file is necessary. For formatting changes of the world file, the only real difference is that instead of listing slugcat spawn requirements by ID, or by index, you do them by their internal name. For survivor, that's white. For monk, that's yellow. For hunter, that's red. The new slug cats use pretty much their own name. Spearmaster is just called spear, and then there's also inv. If you know what inv is, yeah. If you don't worry about it. But that's the only thing you need to change to make the world file functional. There's also a new conditional links and end conditional links for slugcat specific connections. I'm not going to go into that here because that's a whole thing. You can check the you can check the Downpour wiki for more information on that, because it goes way more in depth with it all. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, doing region requirements like this does not work anymore, so don't try to do that. CRS might implement it back in later, but yeah. The map file is the biggest thing that needs to change because it changes the characters used to separate the data, and also stores subregion name by, or the subregion by name instead of index. I've included an application that will automatically change the format for you in the description. Let's see what else. Properties has a bunch of new options. You can read about that once again on the modding wiki, but you don't actually need to change anything by default. So that's world file things. What else do you need to worry about? Modify. Modification files are the best way to modify things because anything included here will entirely replace vanilla, which works when it's just one mod on its own. However, when you have multiple mods, if one mod replaces another file, you can't have both of them. So the modification directory, or the modify directory, allows two mods to modify the same file. Right here, this is required, by the way. You need to modify regions.txt in order to add your region acronym, or it will not appear. So it is vitally important that you modify this file. It is also really important that you modify the locks file, because really weird behavior happens when you don't do this. And if you notice the syntax, add just means it's adding this text to the end of the file as a new line. You can read more about modification files and all the syntax available on the modding wiki. I'm not going to go into all of it, but yeah. That's really important. E-gates you might want to worry about as well. And then if you want to modify the world file for an existing region, you want to use modification files for compatibility. This merge section, this should be end merge. I don't know why that worked without it. But you want to use merge as much as possible. It treats everything inside of it, kind of like CRS world merging. And then for dependency lines, you might have to do funny syntax like this. Yeah, there's a lot of funny syntax you can do. However, check the modding wiki for more information. I should have saved that. That's okay. You do not put rooms for vanilla regions in here. You might want to put like modified settings, but for the most part, those still go in here since you are completely replacing the room instead of simply modifying it. Unless you want to do something like you want to go in here and you want to go to the geometry array and you want to match like this specific array and replace this one with an entrance. Unless you're doing that, just put the room in the normal world file. And with that about covers it. There's plenty more information on the Downpour wiki page. There are a couple other things like triggers change how they work. Same with filters. Anything that's slugcat specific has changed in its formatting, and you might have to revisit it. But for now, that's it. I hope this video was helpful and that you will be successful in your modding endeavors. Alright, goodbye.